You are listening to Windsor Morning here on CBC Radio 1, and the time is 6:52. While as major forest fires continue to burn across the country, members of the Canadian Association of Fire Chiefs are urging Ottawa to provide immediate funding and support for overwhelmed volunteer firefighters. The group says these crews are feeling the strain of inadequate equipment and a lack of resources for training. Meanwhile, demands on them to protect remote and rural communities increase during what's predicted to be a long and in some cases unprecedented wildfire season. For more on this story, we've reached Ken McMullen. He is the president of the association and fire chief for the city of Red Deer, Alberta. Good morning, Ken.
Good morning, Nav.
So first off, what are some of the main challenges facing volunteer firefighters right now?
I think simply it's just the term capacity. As you mentioned in your introduction, just a majority of the firefighters in this country are in fact volunteer. And in 2016, there was 156,000 firefighters in this country made up of volunteer as well as career. And in 2022, that number was reduced to 126,000, which is 30,000 less. And of that 126,000, 90,000 individuals are volunteers. And you think about what they've been facing over the last 37 days fighting these fires in our community. Quite frankly, they're tired. They've put in just tremendous efforts to ensure the safety of themselves and our neighbors. And it's a very, very long, drawn-out event that our volunteer system was not designed to be delivering those types of services.
So what kind of support is needed for these volunteer firefighters?
The Canadian Association of Fire Chiefs has gone on record, and we've been in Ottawa on a number of occasions, but we're asking for a few different things from our federal government. And if you'll allow me, I'll just quickly walk through the four primary asks that we're asking of the federal government. First of all is an increase in the tax incentive. So currently, volunteer firefighters are exempt for up to $3,000 of annual income as a result of being a firefighter. And we've asked the federal government to consider increasing that to $10,000. You talked earlier in your introduction about the especially training and equipment. Up until 2013, there was a program referred to as the Joint Emergency Preparedness Program, or JEP. And that allowed fire departments across Canada to apply for specialty training and equipment funding. And that was a very successful program that ended in 2013, indicated that the mandate had been met. Unfortunately, it was discovered very early on, as soon as 2014 occurred, that additional funding for training and equipment was still needed. And today, I'll tell you, in 2023, more than ever, we need that specialty training and equipment for things like wildland firefighting. In addition to that, we've talked about ensuring the mental health of our first responders. So we've asked the federal government to increase and sustain the funding for mental health. And last but not least is the introduction of a national fire advisor, a position within government to assist with the coordination and resourcing of firefighters across the country to assist with events like the ones we're seeing right now.
So we're predicting right now a long and unprecedented wildfire season. So based on these suggestions that are being put forward by the Canadian Association of Firefighters, how quickly does the government really need to act on these to really prepare for what's going to be something that's going to continue on for the time being?
Yeah, the Canadian Association of Fire Chiefs, we represent 3,200 fire departments and 126,000 firefighters. We're not going to be able to do anything today on a federal perspective to solve the 2023 wildfire season. We need to act today to be prepared for the 24, 25, and onwards fire seasons to ensure that this delivery model of using volunteers and composite firefighters in these wildland type situations, we're not prepared for that in years to come.
Ken, I want to thank you for your time today. Thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your perspective.
I appreciate your time, your interest in the story, and have a great day to you and your listeners.
Ken McMullen is the president of the Canadian Association of Fire Chiefs and a fire chief in Red Deer, Alberta. You are listening to Windsor Morning here on CBC Radio 1.